Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
Hello. In this week's episodes, first is Unsafe. Alicia returns from Belle Reve and comes to Smallville to rekindle her relationship with Clark. Meanwhile, Lana decides to sleep with Jason in order to win him back. Lex is unimpressed with Lionel's moral makeover. Then, in Pariah, Clark has big concerns after Alicia becomes the prime suspect in a brutal attack on Lana and Jason. Meanwhile, Jason's mother returns to town with an offer for Lex. This is the Smallville Chronicles. Alright, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. I am Lou Gonzalez, joined as always by Ellen Muir.
Good writers on the first one, and man writer on the second one.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. It's actually great that these kind of ended up getting paired with us. So this is our second and third episode with the character Alicia.
Or the final one.
Yeah.
Final two episodes.
Yes. Who is played by Sarah Carter, who has since gone on to be the second half villain for Flash this past season.
Yeah, she was Grace, what's her?
I don't remember. She was Cicada too.
Yeah.
And
she was Orland's
niece, yeah. And then her other big thing was she was in Final Destination 2. I think we've talked about her before, but yeah, I actually really like her in these episodes. I like the character a lot. I actually like the character for a lot, what it does for Clark and like his mythos as like a true, in many ways,
a tragedy.
Yeah, she's kind of his Gwen Stacy. I just kind of thought about that.
Yeah.
Like comic book version, which is funny because the showrunners also wrote Spider-Man 2.
Wait, what?
The Goff and what's his name wrote Spider-Man 2. Raimi one.
Oh my, that makes so much sense. Why? Yeah. But what? Oh my god.
Yeah.
The fact that how it's basically Philip Marco is the villain in the next episode.
Oh yes, yeah. Which I will bring up during the Spider-Man 3 review. But yeah, go listen to the Spider-Man 2 Raimi one where I break Connor's mind with that information because now he believes that he is going to wake up one day and be inside of Smallville because of like how far
like
that show has reached.
That million degrees of Smallville.
It's like 1 degree for like everything we do because it was on for 10 years. So like there's just people in everything. Like I didn't even know. Like I shared the thing on Instagram with you. I didn't know Glover was in DS9.
Yeah,
when
I saw the episode, I told you, I was like, dude, Glover was on DS9.
Yeah, I was not a DS I watched a bunch of Next Gen, but like I didn't go past that. So I was like, when I saw the picture, I was like, oh man, he's a baby.
DS9 is like for hardcore Star Trek fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just it was pretty much the last show that like people. Voyager was diminishing returns, but DS9 was sort of like the perfect Star Trek show for its time.
Yeah, I always mix those two up, and I only know like which one was Janeway. Was that Voyager?
That was Voyager.
Okay, and then I never remember the captain, but I know he was the bull black guy. Was DS9 then, right?
Yeah, Avery Brooks playing Ben Sisko.
And which one had the medic who was a hologram?
That was Voyager.
Voyager. Okay, I definitely watched more Voyager than DS9. Maybe eventually I will go back and watch a ton of Star Trek. But maybe we should actually talk about Smallville. So we do get like a bunch of... Well, besides Alicia, we also get another interesting character actor who's been in a ton of stuff. And that is her doctor, Dr. William McBride, who's played by John Piper Ferguson, who's been in... he was the main villain in Alphas, which was a sci-fi channel show that I loved. It only lasted 2 seasons for dumb reasons.
Yeah,
and then he was...
It didn't get a proper ending.
No, and then... which almost everyone in that cast has gone on to do stuff. And then he was also a villain for a chunk of one of the seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't remember which one. But he was part of the anti-Inhuman group. I can't remember what they were called. But, yeah. So let's jump in here. So if you don't remember, Alicia Baker was a character from, was it season 3 or season 2? Season 3. Who is she's a, meteor freak who can teleport. but she's kind of unhinged because she can kind of go wherever she wants.
It's sort of that power corrupting stuff.
Yeah, but her and Clark have a relationship, and she kind of brings out the
worst in him, sort of.
Worst in him, but also he finds someone that he can confide in, and it's
sort of be himself around.
Yeah, and it's like it's not as much as like he can be like he can kind of let go with her, and she kind of doesn't know how to rein it in ever. And then her only weakness is she cannot teleport through lead,
which is ironic because of Clark's powers.
I do like the idea that like lead is kind of maybe like a thing that connects like all kryptonite stuff. It's something they never really did, but I like the idea. But that comes into play in this episode specifically. So we start with Clark's at the Talon. Two young early 2000s girls come and hit on him and ask him to a party because he's the quarterback for the football team.
Yeah, he was a big man on campus.
Yeah, so he's like the big man. He's a football star, which will come to play in a couple of episodes. And he tells them no. And at this point, this is when Martha's running the Talon, correct?
Yeah.
I think is this the first episode where we really see her doing that, I think?
I believe so. Because, the episode, I think it was last week, or a week or two ago, where her and Lana are talking about she was staying late because she didn't want to, she's scared she's going to lose Jonathan.
Yes, you're right. That. Okay, so this is like the second time we've really seen her in here. But she basically is now like, so she goes to Clark and she's like, oh, why don't you go? Like, why do you do this? And he's basically like, what's the point of being in a relationship that I have to lie to them? Basically referring to like, he can't be with Lana because he doesn't share his secret with her, and that's why he can't be with her. And so she's like, I'm really sorry. I'm sure it's someday you will find the right person. They're not exactly alluding to anybody. It does happen, I think, later on where they allude to like him and Lois with like, oh, maybe Lana's not the one. But we cut from here to Belle Reve. I'm going to try to pronounce it the correct way for the rest of the episode. So we see
when you said Belle Reve, I was like, God damn it.
I know, it's just from watching the show that like it gets because they pronounce it wrong. So we cut to Belle Reve, which for some reason this French-named mental hospital is in Metropolis. Because in the comics, it's in New Orleans, isn't it?
Where it fits perfectly.
So obviously, this is like the 20th time we've seen this hospital, which I do like the continuity of that.
Yeah, how all the bad guys or bad girls end up through there, or that's where the
metahumans go. Like it's a mental hospital, which it's like their version of Arkham, but it's nicer looking. Like it's way nicer looking.
What did you say? It's their version of Blackgate then?
Nah, Blackgate's like a prison. Since it's a mental hospital and there's like people in straitjackets and that stuff, more Arkham-y. But I get what you mean. Like, but Blackgate's more of like a prison. You know what I mean? In the comics, Belle Reve is a prison. It's not a hospital. So that's why it's like it's like an amalgam of stuff.
Yeah, Belle Reve hit its peak in the 2016 film Suicide Squad. That was a piece of crap. It only had 3 good scenes. All Deadshot. Who Deadshot later appears on the show.
Yep. He's been in like all the shows, I think, because he was on Arrow as well.
He was on Arrow. He was on Justice League Unlimited. He was on. He was on Flash, a show where he only appeared once, and that was through an alternate universe where Deadshot was a nickname because how bad his aim was.
Yeah. So we go to Belle Reve. We see Alicia is being released by her doctor, the aforementioned William McBride. He says that she is cured and releases her to her parents. So we cut to.
I thought she killed one of her parents.
No, she threw him down. She threw her dad down the stairs. And it's been like a solid year since that happened. So like it is interesting like to bring for like a character to be brought back. This is only the second time they've really done this. The first is with the one that you hate the most when they brought back to do Whitney.
Yeah.
But this is actually like an interesting one because this is the first kind of redemptive story that we get of somebody coming back from Belle Reve. There was like a meteor freak and that's now better.
Yeah.
So, which will come into play like throughout the series. So Clark is in his loft. Alicia approaches him and he's like, what the hell? What are you doing here? Did you break out? And she's like, no, the doctors say like, I'm cured. They released me. My parents drove me here. I drove here in my parents' car to see you. And she's like, look, I have like this lead bracelet so that I can't use my powers. And then he's like, you tried to kill like me and Lana. And she's like, yeah, well, I was sick. Like I was kind of delusional. She kind of they don't straight up say like, because the cure thing with the mental illness is like weird, but they kind of imply it was like, it's like hard to say. It's like that the way her powers work made her like not be able to understand like limits to things because she could go wherever she wanted.
Yeah.
So she kind of talks through that, and she's just like, I never told anyone about your secret. It's been over a year. I just thought like, somebody different like me that was out here that wasn't hurting people was kind of the only thing that gave me hope in the hospital. And they kind of end there. Clark talks to Chloe to make sure Alicia did get released correct, like everything she says. And she's like, yeah. And basically Clark, against the Kent's judgment, Clark asks her out on a date, which is kind of an interesting like jump, but I guess it kind of
like, yeah, because Clark sees best in everyone.
Yeah, and it also shows how lonely he is. That with like the initial opening, it's like he is very like, because he should be 17, 18 at this point. Yeah. He's seeing his closest thing to a girlfriend with an older guy, and then there's nobody else. And the only other thing they had romantically now shows up, which it will come to play in this episode specifically, but like I don't think at this point, no, because the other episode we had earlier this season, he has not had sex yet. Yeah. Because what's her name takes his hair. Yeah. So they go to an ice skating rink and they're having a really good time until Alicia sees her doctor kind of lurking around. And then
she gets away she confronts him. So it says she makes up an excuse to get away. And McBride tells her that she has to break up with Clark. So like the whole reason that she was at Belle Reve is because she was fixated on him and caused her to have a psychotic break. And he should have just like, if you don't do this, you're going back to Belle Reve.
Yep.
And then then he turns out to be right because she starts.
It's like a mixed right. He's right and he has ulterior motives.
Yeah, he wants her.
Yes. So she's basically goes to Clark and she's like, let's run away to California where no one knows what she did because everyone's treating her weird. Plays into the second episode. She begs Clark to go there, but he's like, no, I can't. And he's like, why are you acting all weird now? And he's kind of like weirded out about it. So then we cut to Lionel Luther goes and gives Lex a visit. He basically like, I got a new lease of life. I want to start all these charitable organizations and share my good fortune. Which is kind of, I actually love how this goes forward and then what happens, like how it switches in a couple episodes is also amazing. Because that's such a good episode. I think it's Onyx, right?
I believe so.
Lionel's like, you're just trying, or like basically Lionel basically tells Lex like, I'm just trying to make the best of being penniless now. I'm like, I'm not going after the company. I don't want the money. Like I just want to try to be a good man.
So I just realized I'm looking at the episodes, the next two episodes we're going to be doing. The episode with Jeff Johns and the episode with Crypto. Or Shelby/Crypto. Which
I do like. I do like that Shelby like hangs around for forever.
Yeah. And that's just one adorable dog.
Yes. So we get to Alicia breaks into the torch office. She finds the class ring from last season. She takes the gemstone out of the ring and goes to Clark in the barn. It's like, I made you this necklace, which is a weird gift for a girl to give a guy. And she wants to see it before she leaves. And obviously, like, he puts it on and turns from Clark to his Cal persona. And
there's a part, this is going to be a scene coming up later, and it's just, you can totally fit the whole after school special in it, the scene with him and Martha.
Oh, yes. It is interesting. I do like that how Welling plays like these three different versions. You only see the two
Cal,
in this episode.
Clark and
Kal-El.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you literally see his posture change. He kind of like gets this like swagger and this like dickish smile when Cal takes over. So from here, Lana goes and visits Jason at school, which he is at, I think it's Kansas A&M.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe is real. But it's funny. Like there's lots of A&M schools, but I don't. This is one of like the three schools we end up visiting through the years.
Yeah,
because it's that Metropolis U, and I can't remember the other one. Because there's like a community college, I think too.
No, I think A&M is that I think that's where Clark goes and where we're introduced to Milton Pine.
Okay,
AKA
all right. So
Brainiac.
Yes, and that's also where what's his name, the Kawachi Caves dude is, I think too. Is it Joseph?
Yeah.
All right. So Lana goes and visits him. he tells her that their relationship won't work because he thinks Lana isn't ready for like that kind of a relationship, which Lana's like, oh, ugh, and like kind of upset about. She goes to talk to Chloe about the problems, and basically they kind of figure out that like, or like Lana within talking, basically he's like, oh, he doesn't want to be with me because like we don't have a sexual relationship. And it's like, I don't like, and she's like, I think I'm ready for that. And Chloe's like, Chloe basically says something like, I think this is like when she's like, yeah, like sometimes like your first time, you don't know that you're not ready or if you are ready. So, and Chloe's like, I'm ready now. I wasn't really ready when it happened. And then she actually says like she's surprised that they hadn't had sex yet. But Lana's basically like, she basically is like, but Chloe says like, Lana, you should make sure. And this is where we get the story that the Chloe losing her virginity story to somebody at the Daily Planet, which started off as like her fake thing to get Clark jealous.
And it turned out to be an actual story of that character in a couple seasons, a few seasons from now.
And she basically goes, it wasn't special. And I kind of regret that, like losing it so soon. Because I guess for her character, she would have been about like 16 when that happened. 16 or 17, while they're all like 17 or 18 now. So Lana invites Jason over, saying that she's ready to have an intimate relationship, and Jason's that like, that's not why I broke up with her, and then I broke up with you. And he basically says like, I think our entire relationship was a setup by my mom. And she's just like, wait, what? And then like it makes sense in like, because it's Smallville, but like what he kind of said, it's like weird because again, it goes to the thing of, because this like side story is like, I guess Jason, at this point in the writing, Jason doesn't know everything. He has like thoughts on it, but when he kind of switches allegiances, it's like very vague. It just kind of like happens out of nowhere that he's just like in on everything. So yeah. So back to the barn. Alicia and Cal are getting kind of hot and heavy. She asks him to slow down because she's a virgin.
It's like, great, I am too. As if he could care less.
Which, this actually gives me a thought, like, he spent how long as Cal?
Like, a few months.
Oh, yeah, so, like, but in those episodes...
He spent the summer, or most summer and part of the school year.
Yeah, but I forgot that, like, when he's at the bar, the guy is like, oh, man, all these hot girls come talk to you, like, all the time, and you always blow them off.
No.
Because I was going to say, he must have.
He always brings... He brings like there's a line that the bartender gives like, yeah, he brings all these hot women with you, or all these hot girls with you, and they end up disappointed. Yeah, because they always leave. Like he always leaves alone. But Cal is basically like, whatever. Like like what you said. That's great. So am I. He's basically like, let's get married. Yeah, let's go and get married. And he snaps off the lead bracelet, and she teleports him to Las Vegas. They get married at like the comedic kind of Las Vegas ceremony. They get the hotel suite to consummate their marriage. They're kind of goofing around the hotel room, taking off their clothes, making out, and then Alicia just screws up the whole plan. Well, I think her thing is that she doesn't. She wants it to be real. She wants Clark and not Cal. Yeah. So she takes off the necklace, and Clark is like, what the shit? Like, you basically roofied me. Like, worse than, like, you basically, like, gave, like, roofied and, like, he doesn't say, but he's like, you drugged me. But basically, like, she gave him, like, roofies and, like, ecstasy and, like, steroid. Like, he's just, like, completely out of his mind with red kryptonite, which I do love how they use that in the show. I'm just saying, they can make some, if they did some, like, animated stuff, like, animated Smallville shorts, they could do some great, The More You Know. Mm-hmm. With basically Clark and the red kryptonite. Yeah. So basically, she's just like, I was just really want to be with you, and Clark's like, I don't know if you're really all that better. And Alicia, they kind of argue, and then she's just like, nightcrawlers herself away, poof. But it's green smoke, which I also like the effect of her teleportation a lot. I'm sure we talked about it last time. So Clark goes to Smallville, and he tries to find Alicia. He's in the barn, and then Dr. McBride shows up. And he tries to get him away by threatening to shoot him. Alicia does this kind of like interesting way of stopping the bullet. She just teleports in front of it. And where she gets her shot, her like arm or shoulder? I think it's like her shoulder. She's facing Clark. Because there's some point where she's got a sling on at the end of the episode.
Yeah. So, but this is like all very interesting because, like, one, this shows that Dr. McBride, although he was right, he's completely fucking crazy too. Because why? Like, he goes to shoot Clark because he's in love with Alicia, and so when she gets shot, he runs over and Clark literally like throws, like he shoves him, but he shoves him like 200 yards like through a building.
Yeah,
like he should be dead.
That can be said about nearly everyone that
I know, but like
that
the
Clark
way, like
ends up like getting like her punches or not punches when he Luke Cages someone.
yeah, but like it's like it kind of shows like how like both angry and unfocused he is, and like just directly like throws him away. And then he's like, "Why did you do that? Like you knew it wouldn't hurt me, or that I could just caught it." And she's like, "Well, because if I didn't do it, he would have known your secret, and I want to show you that I would keep your secret no matter what." And then so we go to the hospital. She's like, "I'm really sorry about everything." He, kind of dumps her, but leaves the bracelet, kind of being like, you should put this back on to prove yourself. And Clark goes to talk with his parents.
Jonathan is pissed the fuck off.
Yeah, it's like one of those times where like I like the relationship that the three of them have, because Jonathan has this immediate like, "What are you doing?" She's like a crazy person. Like she could have given up your secret. And Martha's like, he's also like a teenager, and we shouldn't be this. And then she's like, they're talking about like marriage and all this stuff. And
yeah, it's like
guys,
sacred. You have to be someone you can trust complete 100%.
And he's like, "I was on red kryptonite," and they're like, "Even so, it's like I have." It's like if you actually cared, like they kind of do this explanation, like the red kryptonite just kind of brings out everything. So like if that's how you feel about on red kryptonite, that's how you feel about marriage, like deep down. And he's just like, I don't think so, but okay. And he's just like, "You guys don't understand that like she's the only person that like I can be my real self with." And they're just like, Martha especially is like, just kind of use better judgment. And then we just kind of go to Clark, who's just like sad in the barn. Alicia shows up. She has the thing on her wrist, and she's like, "I'm really, really sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I really do care about you." And he's just like, "I'm still pissed." She says, "I love him," and turns to leave. And Clark gives her like a hug, and she kind of cries. And then they come back together. I guess it's like a couple at the end. So this is an interesting episode. I do think there's a lot of goofiness in it, but there's also like a lot of like awesome heart stuff in it as well. It's like a really great, these pair of episodes, as we'll get into the second one, like character building specifically for Clark, like in the mythos, which is again why I like these pair of episodes and why this is very much like a Gwen Stacy tale for him.
Yeah.
So I definitely would give this first one a minus.
A plus.
Oh wow!
Mainly
Yeah,
because it's been almost a decade. I still have like a huge crush on Sarah Carter.
which she looks unaged if you watch the season of Flash, and she also is a badass in the show. So,
and, like I said, when Chloe mentions the whole relationship and then how she met someone, like it was heavily speculated that it was H.J. Olsen.
Yeah. Was it like Henry James?
Yeah. And
which we'll get to the goofiness of all of that when we get to it way down the road on their like half stance on it being Jimmy.
Wait, what?
Because it's like the Jimmy in the show is not the real Jimmy until the end of the series. Where we get his little brother who's the same actor.
And who's just wearing like at the final one of the final scenes of the show is just him. What like it looked like he time traveled from the 40s.
Yeah, well, it's very much. Have you ever seen Beer Fest?
Wait, what?
Have you ever seen Beer Fest?
Yeah.
Okay, like it's like what they do with Landfill. Like after like he gets killed, it's like, "I'm Landfill's like older brother who taught him everything he knew. And he told me everything about you." So it's almost like Landfill never left. "I also want you guys to call me Landfill," and they just like
they totally just forget it. Like,
it's just
died.
Yeah. So all right, let's get into the second episode, Pariah. So obviously this is the conclusion to our Leech Baker story. So karaoke night at the Talon. Chloe and Lois are belting out I Love Rock and Roll. Clark shows up with Alicia. and literally like everything stops and they just all stare at her. And Lana gets up and leaves, and Jason's like, "Dude, what the shit?"
What's the term when like that should have been
A record scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was like and like literally everyone stops. The music is like gone, and like we're just like stares at them. So
I'm glad. I'm just so glad we got the moment like this happen with Superman.
yeah, but like it does make sense because like everyone's like, dude, she like attacked you. She tried to kill Lana. So Jason's like, dude, I can't believe I can't believe you brought her here. And
what a dick, man.
Yeah, and Clark like is like, oh, what? Like that was different. Her. She was sick, and then Alicia just like kind of runs away in tears. So later on, Lana is showering when there's like some unknown presence, kind of like goes through. We like kind of follow with the camera through the keyhole of her door, and they try to like
person just to suffocate her with the shower curtain.
Yeah, it's
Jason,
like a specific horror
breaks
movie.
In the bathroom and saves her.
Yeah, it's like very reminiscent of like a specific horror movie. She's like kicking and falling. So at the hospital, Jason tells Clark that Lana doesn't want to see him. Lois and Chloe point out that there's only one person in the town that could enter and exit rooms unseen, which is very much not true. But it's the only one that they know. And Clark's like, oh, but she was wearing her lead bracelet. It subdues her powers. She couldn't have done it. And like I was with Alicia at the time of the attack.
And he tells it to Sheriff Adams, who returns.
Yep. And basically, after Adams leaves, Martha Johnson, I can't believe you're still dating her. And he's just like, you guys don't understand. She's innocent. And tells them, like, didn't you tell me to look for the good in people? And kind of throws that in their face. And they're like, So at school, Clark asks Chloe to help him see if any other of the Smallville people have similar abilities. They talk about...
And they're talking about stuff. And another classmate who, I'm not going to spoil that.
Yeah, he like another classmate, Tim, walks up and is like, was talking to Chloe about them opening up a historical exhibition, which if you haven't watched one of these shows before, random new characters introduced. I wonder why. Tim notices Lois. He asks her out on a date and she's like, yeah, okay. And Clark asks him if he saw anything at the Night of the Talon. And then he says he saw a blonde girl in the alley. So in the loft, Alicia visits Clark. He asks her if she was in the alley, and she again tells him she had nothing to do with the attack on Lana. She does admit that she's not wearing the bracelet because giving up her powers was like being in prison. She asks Clark if he could ever give up his powers, and he says he'd rather not have them than hurt anyone, which is kind of like a cop-out of the answer. So that night, Clark goes to the Talon to give his mom a ride home. Lana and Jason are there, but they don't want to go. Even though, he doesn't want to go and leave Lana alone, even though he has homework. Clark and Martha convince him that they'll watch over Lana. In his car, he's attacked from behind, and a green scarf is kind of pulled around his neck. And he manages to hit the car horn until Clark comes out and saves him. But when he comes out, there's nobody there, I believe.
Yeah, it's person ran off.
So we go to the hospital, and Genevieve is back, Jason's mom. And basically, Lana's like, did you orchestrate our chance meeting? And she kind of laughs it away. She does go, Genevieve goes and talks to Lex and asks him to hire Jason because she believes that it will separate him and Lana. And she believes that Lex also doesn't want Lana and Jason together.
Because, setting up stuff for next season.
Yes. She kind of hints at it. So Clark asks Alicia why her scarf was in Jason's car, and she's like, it wasn't me. And she's like, now you think I'm guilty too, and that if everybody knew about your powers, he'd be a suspect too. He urges her to come with him to the sheriff and explain everything, but she won't go unless he reveals his powers too. And Clark's like, I can't do that. Like, don't ask me to do that. So she teleports away. Clark takes the scarf to the sheriff, but she reveals that Alicia's no longer a suspect because she herself was in an interrogation room when Jason was attacked. So basically, Clark's like, oh shit, I done fucked up. So, this is where big events happen for the entire series.
Yeah, we got a shot straight up that is equivalent to Action Comics.
Yep. So Alicia goes to the Torch where Chloe's working, and she's like,
do you want when she says that like you write about media freaks and you don't know that, and you have no idea that your friend is one of them, and basically tells her that she can give her the ride up of her career, and she just takes her and they teleport to her car, driving reckless, dangerous, fast. She calls Clark, tells him that her brakes are failing. Then she teleports her and Chloe out, and Clark super speeds there. Chloe's like, "What the shit?" And he does he sort of clap hands the car. That's it.
Yeah, he like kind of gently catches it because it like he leaves it undamaged, which is like an interesting part of this. But like, yeah, he just kind of catches it and then like
lightly puts it back or puts it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Well, no one's here." She super speeds away, and Chloe just has she can't fathom what just happened.
Yeah, it's like both. She's like her brain is broken, but at the same time, it's like
I really like the way the shot is, though. Of like when you see he's sort of out of focus, and
yeah, we're like Chloe, the camera's behind Chloe and Alicia.
No, I'm talking about when Clark, like we got a nice shot where Clark is sort of out of focus and Chloe and Alicia are.
Oh yeah.
It's like as he's putting the car down.
Yeah, it's a good shot, and like Chloe's face is great, learning everything. So we go from here to jump to the Lois stuff, which is part of the plot, but it's like kind of it's like a weird jump. So she's on her date with Tim, and it goes from being awkward to super creepy. When he talks about Lana and Jason's relationship, he states the teacher dating a high schooler is wrong, and they got what they deserved. And Lois is like, "Okay,
you're a dick. I'm leaving."
Yeah. So Lois meets Chloe at the Talon and is like, if she's seen Clark, and Chloe's like, no, I haven't. Like, she's all flustered. And Lois is like, I kind of have a feeling who the murderer is, or like the attempted murderer is. So she asks Chloe if she's all right, and goes away to go find Clark. At the barn, Alicia encounters
Tim, he just flat out says, "Yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm the one responsible. I'm trying to frame you. Get out."
Yep.
And
he like before she can like tell. Oh, she's wearing the lead bracelet, right?
Yeah. He tries to get
She tries to take it off, but like he gets to her first and drugs her and basically overpowers her. And then we cut away. So at the Luthor Mansion, Genevieve is trying to continue to persuade Lex to help her separate Jason and Lana, saying that she could provide Lex with information about his father's release from prison. It was her that got him out, which I guess we don't know yet, but it's so terribly obvious.
And then we got the sad moment of the episode.
Yeah, so Clark goes to the barn looking for Alicia, and she is hanging from a noose. He gets her down, but she is like way dead. Because at this point, like we don't know exactly how long. She's been there for a while. And basically he's just like holding her body, like losing his shit appropriately. And Lois shows up and is like, I know who did all this, and Clark like leaves to go confront Tim. So
I just have some tips, like some notes. The UK and Australian versions of the scene, they don't show Alicia hanging from a noose like that.
Oh, really?
That whole shot was jettisoned because it wasn't appropriate in those.
Oh,
and
interesting.
There are some scenes on the season 4 DVD like that were didn't make the cut. It's Clark and Alicia on their way to the Talon, and Clark is one telling her, like, he's trying to reassure her, saying that everything's gonna be fun. And then there's Jason confronting Alicia about the attack on Lana. So,
yep. Oh, it's the first one would have been interesting. Them in the car. So Clark finds Tim. I think they're at the historic thing, right?
Yeah.
They have a fight and basically it's revealed that Tim is basically Sandman.
Yeah, he's knockoff Flint Marco.
Yeah. So he can like kind of turn into sand particle.
Actually no, sort of like Sand Demon.
Okay. And
hey, I gotta keep it DC.
Yeah, and Clark basically is like, oh yeah, if you heat up sand, it turns into glass. So Clark uses his heat vision. It kind of solidifies him. Like he's hurt enough where he has to like he has to reconfigure himself. And Clark is just like straight up strangling, but he has him like up against, like lifted up. And Lois is like, gets there just in time. He's like, you don't want to do this. Stop. And basically Clark like drops him and just like kind of collapses to the ground. And then we cut away from there to the other plot. Yeah, the other thing, which is Jason going to Lex's office, and he's like, "Oh, I'm surprised you're giving me this $100,000 a year job." And Jason's like, oh, did my mother put you up to this to end our relationship with Lana? And Lex is like, oh, totally. But, why don't you come work for me and we can work against her and my father? Because it's pretty obvious they're working together, which they're kind of like, oh, cool. Sons of evil billionaires unite. And that is where that kind of plot goes. So then we cut to several days have passed. Clark's in his loft, and he's like sitting on the ground throwing a ball.
Yeah, he's throwing a ball. What's the term?
He's like bouncing it. It's like ricocheting it. So like he's bouncing it off the floor, off the wall, and it comes back to him.
Yeah, and he's just barefoot. He's just totally like depressed.
Yeah, and the Kents come in and reveal that he's been there for 2 days. Like he hasn't left the loft.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't forgive myself. If I would have just revealed my powers when she asked, like, she would be alive and no one would have thought all this stuff. And he feels responsible. And Martha and Jonathan try to comfort him, but they've also been, like, shitty about her, so he kind of, like, blows them off. And then we end with, at the torch, Lois shows up, and Chloe asks if she should tell a friend that she knows a secret that the friend hasn't told her yet. And Lois is like, well, is anyone being hurt by the secret? And Chloe's like, no. Well, then you should just wait for them to tell you. Chloe's like, oh. And then she goes through the wall of weird and removes everything relating to Clark from it.
Yeah.
And then she goes and sees Clark at Alicia's grave. And this is the beginning of her dropping, like, kind of hints to him that she knows more. And she's basically just like, you can tell me anything. Like, I wouldn't judge you. I understand how you, like, I'm always here to talk to. I would never do anything. She's just like, I love you. I'm your friend. Like, you can talk to me. And that's kind of where the episode closes.
So I have some other notes.
Mm-hmm.
When Clark is the way he emotes over Alicia, like after it's sort of similar to the way he is in Crisis on Infinite Earths with Kara, and sort of a similar type of thing with Lois in the first Christopher Reeve movie, where he he goes from, or at least with the Lois part, he just quickly goes into a fit of rage. He didn't turn back time, but.
Mm-hmm. So there are a bunch of interesting things. I didn't really think about it watching it, but like if you kind of think about when he's choking out Tim, it's like he's really holding himself back so much because in a million different ways he could immediately kill Tim.
Yeah.
Like immediately. And he's just like kind of just like slowly choking him out. Like he could literally just pop his head off with a finger. So it is interesting to kind of show that like the control he has even in his like his both rage and his like deep sadness, that he can still like keep everything on lockdown. But yeah, that kind of closes it out. I do think this episode is good. I think that the Genevieve stuff is like the problem with the episode. Everything else is fine. Also, the motivations for the real attacker is really dumb. Like, I still don't really. So he was just mad that they like had this relationship that was inappropriate, so he wanted to kill them and also frame Alicia for reasons. So that's why like I definitely give this one a little bit less. I would say this is like a B for me.
So there's a like the whole Clark throwing the ball against the wall in the loft is sort of repeated in a season 6 episode Wither, when he's trying to a creature who's or sort of like a poison ivy, but for like a inspired villain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's actually hard to forget that episode because it had Jimmy, had Oliver. It's basically an episode where Lex is like he throws Lex throws a party for the town and hires Yellow Mark and Rejects to perform, which I just still find funny because really them. Of all the people, I mean, it was CW, but
it kind of fits though with like all the other music and stuff that they use.
But yeah, we are about 35 episodes away from that episode.
Yeah, we're about halfway through season 4. Our next 2 episodes are pretty good, and that's kind of before we get our last really terrible episode.
Yeah. So
for next week, we'll be watching Recruit and Crypto, which Recruit is basically Clark is getting scouted by Metropolis University and by former Smallville Crow Jeff Johns.
Not to be confused with Doomsday Clock writer Jeff Johns.
Well, he's kind of named after him.
I know.
Yes. And there's some other stuff that goes on there. And then the second episode is Crypto, which is basically about kryptonite jacked up dogs.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember one of the guest stars I've seen in a bunch of stuff. I don't remember. Oh, the older brother. He was in The Blacklist and a bunch of other shows. He's been around for a bit.
Which one? Zach or
Diego?
Pattenhoff?
Yeah. So yeah, he was in Homeland. He's in The Blacklist. A show called Mercy. He was in 24. He was in Stargate.
Oh, then I'll definitely love it.
Yep. He was in Mean Girls. So yeah, he was definitely someone who was like, oh, and this was like way, like he's like a kid in this. He's like 18. But yeah. So, we'll do that next week. And oh my god, I just like that for a second. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to everything if you're listening to this. You got all the other stuff on the Phantom Zone, the After Darks, the movie specials, the regular shows. We also have Handout Comics. We have Legion of Toon, that's part of Los Horror, the podcast network. So you can go check that out at loshorror.wordpress.com. Alan does a show there too, Los Horror Games, which you guys have a ton of stuff probably still coming out of E3 at this point.
Yeah, Graydon did his 10 best tunes of E3 and his top 5 games of E3. And hopefully sometime this week, the LSG Roundtable Favorite E3 Moments Part 2 will be out. And I mean, never mind. No, I was just going to say that I was thinking of writing something, but whenever I say I'm thinking of writing something on the podcast, it never actually happens.
Yep.
So I just give people false hope.
So check out all that stuff. And again, 5 stars. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. I am Lou Gonzalez.
I am Alan Muir, and this podcast stands for truth, justice, and the American way. And dear Sarah Carter, I love you.